Check, check. Live and ready to roll.
Thank you, City Manager. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Carpenter? Mr. Gosnell?
Here.
Mr. Tiefert?
Here.
Mr. Walling?
Here.
Mr. Crum?
Here.
We need a motion to excuse Ms. Carpenter?
Make motion.
Second.
Walling, Mr. Tiefert. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Carries.
All right, thank you, ma'am. We got the approval of the agenda from last week. No, I'm
before-
sorry, the
Last
agenda
month.
is this right here.
Yes. So we
Ma'am.
do need to reschedule the last case, BZA case 240009. Our law director has been in communication with them, and so the applicant is aware of those reasons.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
And
Do
it'll
we
be
need a
rescheduled
motion?
to September.
Yeah, so the motion would just be to strike that agenda item from tonight's agenda, and that will be administratively added to the September agenda.
All right. All right, so we have a motion to do that with the
Motion.
minutes? Second?
Second.
So that's the motion for the amended agenda. So it was Mr. Tiefert and Mr. Walling? All right. And all those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Now you can do the minutes.
Now I can do the minutes?
Yes.
All right, minutes for last month, July 23rd. Do I have a first to have you, everybody's reviewed and everybody's good with it?
I'll make the motion to approve amendments from July 23rd.
Have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right,
Tell them I'll say it.
thank you. All right, now we'll start with BZA case 24-7 4966 Bayside Drive. And would the city like to refresh us on this?
Yes, this case was continued from last month's meeting. But before I go further, I will swear in. I, Nia Holt, affirm that the testimony I'm about to give before the Board of Zoning Appeals is correct to the best of my knowledge, 5200 Springfield Street. So just to refresh your memories, this is a variance to allow the driveway to be less than 2 feet from the setback, or the property line, which is the required setback. So this is the aerial of the property. This is the area that we're talking about. The applicant did submit additional photos, which I shared with this board. The service department has gone out and looked at this property a few times, and their letter, which is what you've requested to see and why it was continued, was also included in the packet. So this is the site plan. They plan to, or asking to, extend the driveway to the corner and straighten and square it off. The apron will also be squared off. This is the front of the subject side. I don't know if you've seen these, so I'll move right along. Just to give you a feel of the neighborhood. Now, moving back to the variance area, where that flag is where the property line is, and that's where the property owner plans to extend the driveway and the apron. This is another view of that variance area, and then, like I said before, there are additional photos in your packet. So the staff is recommending denial. The applicant can extend the driveway to the other side, as we saw on the plan. Both service and the zoning department have said that we were okay with those plans, should it be expanded to the other side. Expanding it on the proposed side would put it in an easement, and that is something that our code states that we should not have uses, structures, buildings in those recorded easements. So that is something why we are recommending denial again, but given the letter that service, we do recognize that they support both designs.
All right, does anybody have anything for the city?
I have one question. I think the last time we met, we were talking about the recommendations from the Service Department as far as the design of the driveway, and I think, Tim, you made the comment about the triangular wing that approaches. I don't see anything in Beth Moore's response to that. Now, albeit if you go back to the first picture with the graph paper, down there where it says new, my assumption is that that driveway will encroach into the right-of-way. So should we also have him then put that triangular portion on the new part, which then encroaches on the right-of-way of the neighbor?
Are you saying that this, right here?
Correct.
So-
From that corner, take it and then bring it out at an angle to match the left-hand side.
So what I understand from our last meeting is he plans to square this off, and Service said they are okay with him squaring it off, instead of doing the kind of winged shape.
And then encroaching into the neighbor's yard.
Okay.
Anybody else?
So just for the clarification for the board, so inside your packet, you'll see a map. Nia will get to it here too. It'll end up looking similar to the address at 4962, where that driveway comes all the way out in a straight line to the right-of-way, and only one side has the angle.
Right.
And that's, if I'm not mistaken, that's what the Service Department said.
That's correct.
They found that that was okay.
Okay.
Or that it was workable for them.
It was workable for them?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Anything else then for welcome?
Thank you. I apologize.
Do you have anything for the city? Any questions? Ron?
I agree with Ang, just that little corner pie piece,
Uh-huh.
bringing that
Just straight
straight
up.
down.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Nothing else? All right. Open up the public portion again to see if the applicant has anything here. Let's see, we've got one here. Looks like it might be the owner, David Lindemoon. Yes. All right. Mind, go ahead and stepping to the podium there. Go ahead and swear in.
Okay.
Speak into the mic for us. Thank you.
Yes. I, David Lindemood at 4966 Bayside Drive, affirm that the testimony I'm about to give before the Board of Zoning Appeals is correct to the best of my knowledge. And one of the concerns that you guys brought up was encroaching on the easement, and I've already got part of the driveway is already on the easement already, so I don't think it would significantly deter from that. And it is as I mentioned in the last meeting, it's a disability safety thing that I'm requesting here for that. And to put it on the other side, the sidewalk slopes this way and the driveway slopes this way, and it just won't match up right, and he'll trip on it if I do it there. I'm afraid of. So I'm just hoping you guys will approve it.
All right. Anybody have anything for Mr. Lindemood? No? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, at this time, be closing the public portion. All right. Team? There was just, if I'm not
Can you use your
mistaken-
mic?
Oh, there, I'm sorry, no?
Thought there was-
No, this is for the other one,
Oh, okay.
all right? I had to double check too, because I thought so. Anybody have anything? Yes?
I did have one, you're right, I did have one more, but I wasn't sure. Mr. Smith, is this, is this for, I know they closed the public hearing, I'm just seeing,
No.
what property do you want to speak to? Oh, that one is rescheduled to the September 24th BZA meeting. No, sir.
Okay, all right. There's no more then, so.
Okay.
Anybody with city have anything to discuss right now? All right. How about the board?
on the left side of the driveway, he can do that without a variance, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
If he
So-
decides to go ahead and do both sides, he can do the other side, and it requires nothing except for a permit.
So the main one we're working with is on the right side
The
of the
right side.
driveway, facing the driveway. Okay.
Correct. Correct. Anybody else? All right. I mean, I'm looking at approving it myself.
I make a motion to approve BZA case 240007 for 4966 Bayside Drive.
Did I do that correctly? Okay.
Second.
Thank you. Madam Secretary?
All right, Mr. Walling,
Yes.
Mr. Tieford,
Yes.
Mrs. Carpenter,
Are we proving the denial?
Approval.
you're approving, yeah.
Motion is to approve.
Are we approving the denial or denying the denial?
From the verbal I got from you, you are approving this driveway on the
Approving
right-hand
the
side.
change.
We are
Correct.
approving, so we're technically denying the denial.
Yes.
We're approving it. We're
Let's,
approving it.
That-
let's throw a few more double negatives in.
Would you like to state that in a way, Law Director?
Yeah, can we
Yes.
positively restate the motion, please?
My
And the reasons for
understanding
that?
from the motion is the motion was to approve the variance request as submitted by the applicant.
Yes,
Okay.
That was my intent, correct.
that's my
Is
understanding.
that?
And
Okay.
so that would be, just to read that back for the purpose of, for the avoidance of doubt, as we like to say,
Right.
that would be, that would mean that as you look at that
The
drawing,
total variance.
yes, that line comes all the way down to the right of way.
Yes.
On the right side, and the left side is still angled, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
And any reasons would be helpful for staff.
I don't approve it. We're, not the total expansion.
Okay.
No, I was just talking about that bottom part of the driveway that is cut out
Mhm.
and bringing that straight down, but not being in the right of way, no.
Okay.
Mr. Gosnell
I approve it.
and Mr. Cron.
Approve.
That is a 4-1 pass.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Lindeman. All right, we'll go on to the next case, the BZA case 24-888 of 2121 Harshman Road. This is an appeal of the Planning Commission decision. And I'll turn it over to the city.
Yeah, so this is actually the first one of the year, so I'll take a bit of time on this one.
Okay.
This is an appeal of the Planning Commission decision. They voted to deny a design waiver back in June of this year. More about this request. This is regarding a property on 2121 Harshman. This property has been through several approvals, processes through our city, a rezoning, a site plan, a lot consolidation. They have a certificate of zoning compliance for the proposed use, well, the use that is operating there. And as they've gone along over since it started, since 2020, now to our current year, they've submitted a waiver application to allow a canopy in the front. Our code does not allow that, and so it had to go to Planning Commission to see if they would permit that waiver of that design requirement. Planning Commission heard this case, then they had some quorum issues, and they continued it until they got to their June meeting, continued those deliberations, and then after hearing the case, they did deny it based on the applicant having other alternatives that would be code compliant. So this is the property where the business lands. It is in the I-1 zoning district. So one of those alternatives that was discussed was consolidating these two lots, because the applicant does own this one back here, and building that canopy that's proposed somewhere around here. Another alternative is, there can be an awning or something that can be used as like a kind of a drive-through. So this is the subject site again from their plans. And this is the plan that was submitted with the waiver application, with notes from the applicant. And so this was in your packet. So this green is the proposed canopy. So this is the front of the property. This is about the area where the canopy would go. Another area, picture of where that canopy is proposed to go, should the waiver be granted or the appeal upheld. And then a couple of views of the site. So now we're getting to the side and the rear of the building. So you can see more around, now this is a fire lane, so it wouldn't be permitted in the side. And this is the rear, so you can kind of see there's what it looks like back there. And another side of the building, which not enough room for them to do what they want to do, which the canopy is used for receiving vehicles, customer pickup, drop-offs, things of that nature. These are the codes that are applicable to this case and why staff was not able to approve it at an administrative level, and it had to go to the planning commission, where it's like, shall not be located in the front yard or only in the rear and sides. And then when dealing with the lot consolidation, an accessory use or structure has to be on a lot that has a principal structure. So this is the information that the appellant provided in their appeal application and the reasons why they are appealing the planning commission. And the basis of that appeal is due to the harm of having the structure in the rear, physical and financial harm. But staff's analysis is based on the overall operation, availability of alternatives, and then our overall enforcement. And we find that Planning Commission's denial was justified and necessary to uphold the zoning regulations. The business has been operating for some time, and they had the opportunity to function within our current regulations. As I mentioned before, there are other alternatives for them to operate their business that are within our code and would not be a hindrance. And it is any board or commission's duty to uphold our code that has been passed by our city council and adhere to our comprehensive plan. It is not that role of any board or commission to protect any individual business financial interests over the greater good of our residents and other stakeholders. So these are your required actions to see after hearing the full case and in testimony heard today, whether Planning Commission made an error in their decision, and if so, then you would uphold the appeal and you would side with the applicant. That would mean that you, as the Board of Zoning Appeal, would need to make a decision on the waiver after making that decision. Now, if you find that Planning Commission did not make an error, then that means that the appellant has failed to meet their burden of proof and that the applicant, the appellant, would have the option to resubmit their waiver application, which was outlined in their decision letter, or they can construct the canopy structure using one of the alternative methods. So any questions? I know that was a lot.
Any questions for the city?
So if we vote no and the appellant can resubmit the waiver application, who does that go to, zoning or planning?
So part of the way they can resubmit is if they change the plan significantly and it's not the same application. So that would go back to Planning Commission.
Should be treated as a new,
Mm-hmm. It'd be
Okay.
treated as a new application.
okay.
Anything else for the city?
Another way of saying that, then, if I'm going to restate what you just said, Ms. Holt, is that even if the board were to deny this appeal, there are still additional remedies available to the appellant because they could reformulate their waiver application and then reapply to be more consistent with the code.
Okay.
Now I have a question for the city. Before U-Haul bought that lot, the company previous to that had to meet certain qualifications. Why didn't U-Haul have to meet those qualifications?
Which ones?
Well, no trucks or trailers in the front.
That's a little bit outside of what there is before us here.
That will have to be.
Yeah.
No tarps. I mean,
Yeah.
they was allowed to have nothing in the front.
The
Yeah.
short answer, Mr. Chieford, is that while there were some discussions, and again, I was not in the room for those discussions, but my understanding is while those were discussed as being conditions at the time that conversation occurred, none of that was ever formalized in writing. There was no deed restrictions, there's nothing written down that would hold or otherwise be binding on the prior owner or the current owner that would make that something that we could rely upon here this evening. Basically, what happened with the prior owner was a verbal agreement that was never formalized and that basically became moot when the property was sold to U-Haul.
Okay.
So there's no basis at present that we can rely on or the board can rely on
Okay.
to make those decisions.
Secondly, we have ordinances against having stuff in front of buildings. Like Speedway's not allowed to have stuff out front of their doors, Flowerama, whatever. They're storing stuff out front of their building. Cleaning carts, cleaning products. Aren't we
That's,
supposed to be taking care of that?
well, that's still not something that we can take care of here tonight. That's still something that is a city thing for later.
To the extent that outside storage is something that we contemplate in the code, and yes, that is a property maintenance issue, yes, that is and will continue to be on our radar, but that's not necessarily the substance that's before you this evening as the
Okay.
BZA. The thing to think about is the BZA tonight, and I'll defer to the law director to rein me in if I misstate this, but really the question before you is you need to decide whether or not the Planning Commission made a mistake. If you think the Planning Commission made an error in their determination, then you would make the motion accordingly to reverse the Planning Commission and provide a reason or a rationale for that. If you think the Planning Commission did not err, basically came to the correct conclusion based on the current reading of the code, then you would make a motion to deny the appeal and uphold what the Planning Commission decided. Is that a fair way of
Yes.
saying that?
Yes, and Mr. Manager, just to buttress on that, the code provides each board, the Board of Zoning Appeals and the Planning Commission and the Property Maintenance Appeals Board, various levels of jurisdiction and authority. When this board is reviewing a determination of the Planning Commission, the code provides very specific requirements as to what this board is authorized to consider. Did the Planning Commission make an error of law or an error in interpretation of the UDO? Those are the two foci of this board's analysis of the Planning Commission decision, remembering that the Planning Commission had a series of public hearings, the Planning Commission had testimony and evidence submitted before it, and the Planning Commission had a full plenary hearing on the application prior to it coming to you. So the code defers to some of the expertise on the Planning Commission, understanding that it heard a plethora of evidence before the case comes to you. So, as the Mr. Manager indicated, if this board determines that there was a clear error of law by the Planning Commission or a clear misapplication of the UDO, this board has the prerogative to reverse. If this board does not find that either of those occurred by the Planning Commission, the code indicates that this court must uphold the planning commission's decision.
And in short, what this is just a checks and balances of our city. System. Right?
That is a succinct way of putting it.
Sure, yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yeah, in other words, if the board determined that the planning commission were to act arbitrarily and capriciously and have sort of made something up, then yes, this would be a remedy for a situation like that, which is why the standard, again, is what's in the law, what's in the code. And if you believe they erred with respect to those things, that should be the basis for your motion this evening.
Okay. Anybody else have anything for the city? Anything to my right? We good?
Nope.
All right. Then we will open up the public portion here this evening at 6:26. Did I get that right, Miss? Thank you. All right, we have, I believe we have two here this evening. And it looks like we might have the applicant here of Richard Henry. All right. Would you like to come to the podium, please? State your name, do the oath up there, speak loudly into the microphone for us.
I, Richard Henry, 7821 Lois Circle, affirm that testimony I'm about to give before the Board of Zoning Appeals is correct to the best of my knowledge. So I think the biggest thing that I've tried to get through with the zoning, the planning commission, was the fact that the accessory structure is needed to be in the front because it's not accessible to our staff or our customers in the rear of the building. It's not really about financial. It's more about it's not easily accessible to anyone. It doesn't serve a purpose in the rear. So that's kind of going back and forth with the U-Haul, the previous owner. I can't help what the previous owner and the city previously went through. That's not something I can control. All I can control is what I'm trying to help my team with, and that's giving them a sunshade when it's 100 degrees like it is today. That doesn't serve a purpose in the rear. So I think that's all I have for you guys.
And are you the manager of the location?
I'm the marketing company president. I oversee operations in Dayton.
Okay.
So.
All right, does anybody have any questions for the
Can I ask
applicant?
a question? You said doesn't serve a purpose in the rear?
Here.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You said it doesn't serve a purpose in the rear?
Yes.
The canopy?
Yes, that's
So
correct.
why is that? Why would it serve a purpose in the front but not in the rear?
Our retail showroom is on the front side of the building. So if you're familiar with the building, Naya had the picture up.
Hide the
The
building.
drive-through garage door, the showroom entrance is right there. And so the only access to our customers and our employees is that front door. So for a customer or an employee to have to go to the rear of the building to find another customer to check them in, it would take 10, 15 minutes worth of time just to walk back there, find them, get back to the front.
So it is financial?
Well, did anybody go outside today?
Yeah.
Okay, so this person now has to travel that entire distance in 100-degree heat in the sun because they can't have this canopy in the front.
So there's no rear doors or going anywhere?
Not
The only
accessible
door
to
to that whole
customer.
building is the front?
Not accessible to customers, no.
For employees, I'm saying.
Yeah, an employee can use the rear, but they still have to cut through the entire property. But no customer can go behind through that building without being an active storage customer.
So
So the
currently,
same-
it's for bringing back equipment, and you clean up the equipment, is that?
Yeah, generally, yeah.
So if a customer dropped the equipment off in the back, an employee would then clean it up?
And then they'd have to go back to the back, get it, and then. pull it
I'm
back.
trying to understand, I'm not.
Yeah, no, yes, basically, an employee would have to go to the rear of the property,
Okay.
check the vehicle in, come back to the front of the property to serve customers, and then immediately potentially return right back to the rear of the property.
For,
Another customer that comes back, or another truck that got dropped off, because we do have vehicles dropped off after hours, so they'd have to be constantly going to the rear of the property where their primary job is in the front space.
I have a question, Mr. Henry.
Mm-hmm.
I've used your services before. When I go in through the front door, okay? I totally missed the canopy because I did go to the one that was up on Burkhardt.
Linden.
No, the other one, with the canopy.
Lyndon.
In
Linden,
Huber.
there's one,
Oh,
in Huber,
Huber.
in Huber, yes.
Yeah, in Huber.
Yeah.
So you do have the canopy over there, right?
Yes.
Okay. So I went straight in, through the door, checked in, did what I had to do, came out, the canopy, there were trucks parked under the canopy, but there was no customer service. What is the customer service requirement that you're talking about for this canopy?
So typically, when a customer rents a vehicle, they come back with the vehicle, they park underneath the canopy. One of our employees goes out to check that customer in at the canopy, they service them at return right there, and then the customer can go home from there. So,
Okay.
but in order for the employee and customer to have that interaction in the rear of our property, that means the customer would then have to also walk from the rear of the property back to where their car is parked in front of the store.
Do you have backdoor access?
Not for customers, no.
Okay. Did you request a building permit revoked due to renovations without a building permit?
Yeah, we have that's all resolved. Certificate of occupancy is good.
Okay. As far as, so they can bring the truck in, park it the same way without the canopy, because of course, obviously, you don't have a canopy now.
Mhm.
That canopy is really tall, so there's light
It's-
filtering right through it.
It
I don't-
is. It's not 100% perfect covered canopy. You know, you pump gas at a gas station, you're not 100% covered. You still get some sun, you still get some rain on you. It's to try and take off the edge. A day like today where the sun is beating down on you and it's 100 degrees, that asphalt underneath that canopy isn't as hot as the asphalt outside of that canopy because the sun is not hitting it. So you have that other effect, the radiant effect of the heat off the ground. So the canopy would at least give a little bit of shade to the area and take the edge off. You know, the nice thing about that building is after, say, 6 o'clock at night, it does slightly come down and create a little bit up against the building, but because the fire lane, we have to have it just far enough away that it never really helps. So from sun up to sundown, the sun is on that spot.
You can function without it, and you have been functioning
Unfortunately,
without it.
I mean, they're uncomfortable,
Okay.
so it's hot.
So they come in, they park it, they go into the building, close out,
Mhm.
and then leave.
And they don't even have to do, if they've used a credit card, the customer just can leave straight from the truck. So,
Okay. And you're not washing cars under that canopy?
not unless there's absolute need to. No, they don't do that very often there.
Because is that something that you do underneath the canopy?
You all in general, yes, we have to wash our trucks, yeah.
Okay.
We don't
so-
have there's no truck wash, we all have to do it by hand.
So now you're talking about buckets and hoses and...
Yeah, but I believe if you go past there, his reference was, we have a cart that has some generic cleaning stuff on it that occasionally is sitting in front of the building.
And you realize that the location is completely different from Hubert. Hubert's set way back, and you are facing, you're close to the street.
So our neighbor to the south is a field. Our neighbor to the north is a vacant church. Our neighbor across the street is also a storage facility.
But your neighbors driving by are close.
I think it's that far back enough off the road where that's not an actual issue. The canopy was, I believe, 17 to 18 feet tall. The building itself is almost 17 feet tall, so it wouldn't protrude. It wouldn't just be some outstandingly high canopy that you can see for miles.
Do you maintenance the trucks, like oil changes and things
Not-
like that
no.
under the canopy?
No.
I'm just asking.
No. We have a repair shop down in Sharonville, Cincinnati area, that our maintenance brakes, oil changes, that kind of stuff. So they'll do some, windshield washer fluid top
So
off.
the canopy is basically for cleaning the truck and returning.
Yeah, just general, returning the equipment and making sure it's ready for the next person. That's kind of cleaning it, just some basic mop.
Pitches, things like that?
Not
fixing
at this store, no.
Lights, fixing, repairing lights?
Yeah, they
and
can
stuff?
fix a light or two out there.
Like, I'm just asking,
Yeah,
basically, what would that canopy be doing?
Yeah, most of our parts are interchangeable very quickly. Like today, at the Linden store here in Riverside, I changed a light, a chain, and another light on a trailer. It took me 10 minutes. So,
All right, anything else for the applicant? No?
So
Yes?
are all the tarps that you use or canopies that you use 20-foot wide, 40-foot long, and 14 high?
Generally, I have one here in Beaver Creek that's a little bit different because there's not as much space. But all my other canopies in the greater Dayton are the 25-40.
All right. Anything else? All right, thank you, sir.
Yep.
Appreciate it. All right, we have another one here, Pat Matheny. All right, you come up and just swear in, state your name into the
Hi, my name
microphone.
is Pat Matheny. I live at 1132 Beatrice Drive. I affirm that the testimony I'm about to give before the Board of Zoning Appeals is correct to the best of my knowledge.
Can you pull the mic down a little bit towards you? Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Is that better?
Yep.
Yes.
Sometimes I talk really loud, so excuse me. First off, you said that there was, are the minutes of the meeting taken and written and legal for all city of council meetings?
Yes.
And everything else?
Yes.
They were included in their packet.
Oh, okay, but what I'm asking about is when the first company bought that property, the minutes of that meeting, I was here, I discussed everything with the board, the city council, they remember. So you said none of that got written down or anything? If these minutes are legal and stuff, as you said, all of that should have been put in somewhere in that contract. That's my understanding. Okay, now let's get to what I'm really here about, is the U-Haul place. I live right behind the U-Haul. The empty lots are behind my house. Okay, right now I have trailers from the U-Haul back there. I put a $9,000 privacy fence up on my property so that I could have privacy. I no longer have privacy because of the way it's slanted. The canopy, I think, is a wonderful idea. I don't know about anybody else, but you get an older adult. My husband is 72. He rented a truck from them. Luckily, it wasn't as hot, but he's in not good health, okay, to stand out in that heat and deliver the truck and sign the paper, do whatever, or bring it back and stand there. That's not good for customer service in the city of Riverside. And you're talking about so many feet away from the highway? Is that part of
Yeah,
this?
Harshman, mhm.
Is that?
Yeah.
Okay. The new 5-minute oil change, how close is that to the road? I think that's a lot closer than what this canopy would be. And changing stuff for the companies that Riverside wants to come into our community and give jobs to people, and then putting such restrictions on them so they cannot grow or be an asset to our community, I think is a terrible thing. I've lived here 70 years. I was born here, over there on Homecrest Avenue. And I've been extremely disappointed in a lot of the things that go on. But this business here, he keeps the property nice. It's not dirty. There's no litter. I think it would be nice. It would set off the property. I mean, I've been to a bunch of the U-Haul places and looked. I went to Huber, yeah, it sits way back. Some of the other ones are closer. The U-Haul over there on Linden is got a canopy. Oh, that's my time. I'm so sorry. We're not allowed to talk over 3 minutes. So if anybody wants to talk to me later, I'll be glad to talk to you. Come by my house, go to my backyard, have a cup of coffee with us, and see what I'm talking about. Or come over and tour over there.
Thank you, ma'am.
I think it would be good for everybody.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, do we have any more that, for the public, for support or for opposing the? All right, if you'd like to talk, sir, you need to come up to the podium if you could. Don't mind stating your name and.
It's Frank Smith. Now, I can't read this, so I'm not good at reading, so, but I'll take the oath, whatever you want to do. But anyway, what I got to say, I agree with what she said with what I've seen in Riverside, I see no problems with them having a canopy in front of that U-Haul. It's a nice property. I come by there every day. It looks nice. It looks better than some things I've seen in Riverside. He knows what I'm talking about. She knows what I'm talking about. I won't get into it now, but there is problems here. This is not a problem. So I think you ought to approve it because it'll improve the business. It'll help him, his employees. So that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. All right. I didn't see any others. Are there any others for opposing or for support for BZA 24-888? At this time, we'll close the public portion of the hearing at 6:41. Thank you.
Naya, if this were to be approved, how does it affect required parking spaces?
So they will still have enough parking based on the original site plans.
Okay. And the setback?
For accessory structures,
Correct.
so they would, well, our code says that an accessory structure is supposed to be no more, it's supposed to be in line with the principal. So I would have to defer to the zoning regulations for that district.
Okay.
How does it work with all the trucks and trailers they have out front with parking places? Because there's not a whole lot of cars can get in there with all the trucks and trailers they have. So don't you have to designate so many parking places for cars?
Our code does, yeah. And that was reviewed when they came back for their their updated certificate of zoning compliance.
Okay.
Anything else for the city?
Yeah, I have a question. The top of the canopy doesn't look, it looks like cloth.
Fabric. Vinyl mesh.
Can you step up to the podium, Mr. Henry, please?
It's a vinyl mesh.
It's a vinyl mesh. So I'm just looking, for instance, if the vinyl mesh gets destroyed because of a tornado or a storm, then we're going to have 4 poles maybe
can-
sticking up.
I have to replace them every few years anyways. They just get tattered because the wind is the wind.
So what
Blows.
would the written, if it got approved, would something have to be written up saying that, they have the canopy fully up or down, but it's not going to be half?
So we have property maintenance standards that.
That would be,
any structure-
I'd imagine that'd be a
yeah.
code violation
Yeah.
for.
So it would
and
just
we-
have to
we-
follow.
Yeah, I'm not going to let one of my properties have that issue. I can assure you that mesh would be replaced as quick as we could get one in.
All right, thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Anything else for the city?
I may be confused, I guess maybe a little bit confused here. Are we voting on whether we want to see a canopy or whether
So
it's
you're,
messed up?
so you've got, the first thing you need to decide, this is the matter that's before you. Did the planning commission make a mistake
Right.
in their denial of the waiver?
Okay,
That's just step one.
right.
Yep.
And just as
And
a
there may
point of
be a
legal
step
order,
two.
oh, I'm sorry, Ms. Holt, and making that determination, the code requires this board to determine if the planning commission made an error of law or a clear error of interpretation of the requirements of the UDO.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Right. So looking, obviously, at what is the requirements based off of code and the law, I don't see where the planning commission made error in their decision because of the fact of what it states that as far as the principal structure and accessory structures. Where there are other options, and Naya had mentioned a few of them, and I'm sure we could even come up with some more, where they could have
Something,
another
Sure,
option for the accessory structure. But again, we're strictly looking at It's a yes or no versus planning commission. Did they err or did they not err?
Okay.
Okay?
So I'm just making it clear. I just want to be clear what we're voting.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions before we vote?
One more thing. If we say that they did not make an error, so we have nothing else to talk about, like an
That's-
approval?
That's correct.
Correct.
Thank
It
you.
would go back, if the applicant decided to refile, it would go back to planning commission.
Yes.
Okay.
And again, that's rooted in the function of the Board of Zoning Appeals as a quasi-judicial body, not a legislative body that writes the code.
Yes.
Okay.
So the planning commission's function is to help write the code,
Correct.
and along with the city council.
Anything else for the city? All right, I then move to uphold the planning commission's decision under PC case 24/5 and BZA case number 23/10, 2121 Harshman Road, based on the standards in the UDO, records of the case, and evidence and testimony heard today. I find that commission did not make an error in their decision to deny the waiver and prohibit the canopy in the front yard.
I'll second that.
Madam Secretary?
Mr. Cron?
Yes.
Mr. Tieford?
Yes.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. Gosnell?
Yes.
Mr. Walling?
No.
All right. Now we have staff discussions. Do we have anything from the city?
Just very briefly about the retreat. There will be a guest speaker to talk about accessory dwelling units. And I think I've mentioned that for those who are able to attend, breakfast and lunch will be provided. If not, there will be a planning and zoning workshop on December 6th. And anybody in the community is also welcome to attend that at Sinclair. It is an all-day workshop about planning and zoning issues from 8 a.m. to about 2.
And that retreat is September the 14th.
That's correct.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
All right. Well, I say we adjourn the meeting.
Yes,
Make
being
that
no
motion
further
to adjourn.
business,
No further business.
the meeting is adjourned at 6:48 PM.
6:40.